What is going on, everyone? This is Kyle, and this is going to be our quick hits for this week. And the topic is going to be the one that surprised everyone, but also reignited everyone's favorite thing. U.S. Soccer Wars is back. And for some of you, this is the greatest thing that could happen. For others, you want to just stick your head in the sand and act like this is not happening. But last week, USL has announced plans to start a Division One level league, and this league will directly compete with Major League Soccer. We don't know the full details, and everything is still kind of up in the air, but what we understand is it's aiming to start 2027, 2028, and also want to have markets ready to go. Which markets hasn't really been clarified as well, but it comes with the idea of wanting to continue USL's goals of expansion and really competing with MLS to have that D1 level. We've already seen it on the women's side where the USL Super League had decided to go with a D1 level that would compete with the NWSL. So interesting now to see United Soccer League to continue doing that now on the men's side. Now, this is a show that talks about USL League One. So I'm sure when you're watching this, you're thinking, what does this have to do with USL League One? And I'll give the long answer and I'll go through everything and explain why. But in the short term, this doesn't really affect USL League One that much, to be honest, in my opinion. Why doesn't it? It kind of goes down to a couple of factors. But the biggest one is just the current clubs. Let's start with those. None of the current clubs really have the financial capability or the infrastructure to make a move that big all the way up to the Division One level. Most of them don't even have that for the championship. There's only been two clubs really that have said we want to go up to the championship. And one of those was a rumor with Chattanooga, where it was kind of rumored that they would want to move up. That never actually happened. It was actually supposed to happen this season. And the other one is Union Omaha. And I think Union Omaha does have plans to go up to USL Championship. It just needs to have that stadium completed. And that's their final hurdle. We saw recently with North Carolina moving up. We saw with Lexington. We saw initially with Brooklyn and Santa Barbara initially coming to USL League One, and they decided to go up to the championship. But for the Madisons, Richmonds, Tormenta, Greenville, not so much. And for each in their own reasons, that moving all the way up to the D1 level or even championship just doesn't seem like something that's going to happen. So with this announcement, kind of takes the ease off of them. Now for the USL championship, it would be a different story because I'm sure USL is going to want their best markets and best teams to go up there, especially to compete with MLS. We're talking Louisville's, we're talking potentially Phoenix, areas that MLS have also looked into adding teams or taken teams, whether it's Detroit. So we could see Detroit City go up. We could see Indy 11. We could see Sacramento Republic. Maybe another San Diego team comes back. The San Diego Loyal could come back. That is where the championship might see a lot of shifts. But for USL League One, I don't think it's really going to affect them too much just because it doesn't really make sense for them financially or logistically to take that giant leap realistically. Now, there is a way that these teams could get up to this D1 level. Everyone's three favorite words: promotion and relegation. Yes, if USL were to implement Pro Rel, then maybe we could see some of these League One teams get all the way up to that level. But I think everyone focuses so much on the promotion aspect and what that can really bring and how cool of a story that would be. But we forget about the other side of it where it really does have that relegation aspect of it. I don't think their USL or even US Soccer is in a place where financially teams can afford to suffer that relegation. Would it be good to punish those that don't really put in the effort? Yeah, I think it would make sense. But at the same time, in an already unstable soccer scene in the United States, where you do see teams fold, give up, sell franchise rights, etc., adding the relegation aspect might escalate that even more for some of them. Obviously, we've seen, a Memphis and Rio Grande and even Oklahoma City, where instead of going down to League One and trying to get all their ducks in a row, they've just decided we're just going to shut up shop. And that's not to say like maybe they thought about it and whatever, but I don't think we're in a place for that. But on the promotion side, yeah, it would be pretty cool to see a team like Greenville, who have historically done really, really well in this league, try and go up to that championship, compete with them, and go up to the D1. We've talked about it in previous episodes how League One teams have fare pretty well against the championship teams. So that is another aspect that they have the ability to do so. So I think there's that area. I don't think it's that big of a deal, though. I don't think we're going to see too much. Now, what we could potentially see, I mentioned it, is the expansion side of things. Out of the 5 expansion teams, I would say Westchester is really the only one that would be close or in a market that the D1 level would really, really enjoy. I mean, Westchester's just outside the Bronx, just going to be something that really could put them in a position. But there's already Brooklyn who might get that first attempt at it, where they will take that first shot at the D1 level. Maybe this could be, if Westchester, if things go really, really well over there, they can go up to the championship or D1. But I think for now, Westchester is the only one out of the 5 expansion markets that are coming in this year that I really see having that possibility of going up there. But I think this also allows different markets to potentially look at League One and say, we can, if we're in a New Orleans or Milwaukee, maybe not Milwaukee, but if we see like New Orleans, they might look and say, let's start in League One, get everything situated, get our plans. And then once we have that, we can make that jump up. If there's no promotion relegation, teams are just able to buy their way up a level, kind of like what we've seen historically. But also for newer markets, this could also give them that incentive where maybe there is going to be pro rel. So maybe we want to get in the door early, because who knows what's going to happen once all that changes. Could see, a ballad decide, okay, we got to move up. We just have to go up now and prepare ourselves for that possibility, as opposed to waiting until 2027, 2028, where maybe the USL League 2 will be shut off from entering the professional ranks of side of things. So I think there's that aspect of it that is an underrated part for how it can affect USL League 1, where maybe there's more of these markets that want to test things out and build first and then move up, kind of like what we saw with Lexington, where they started off in League 1. They had a couple seasons to really get themselves in a situation, have the new stadium, and then decide, okay, we're ready to take that next step. I think the other aspect of this that is an underrated part that I think could be good for the league is we might be able to see more utilization of loans happening in USL. There is still some loans that happen between championship and League One, or even within League One teams. So that is still a possibility. But I think what we could see is teams in that D1 level that have young, talented academy players, 17, 18 years old, they need playing time, kind of similar to what you see over in Europe, where you have this talented 16, 17, 18-year-old, but they need playing time. They're like, yes, playing against U23s, U18s isn't really going to help them grow. Let's send them down a level or two, get them the playing time they need. They're still in a professional setting. They're still going in a professional atmosphere and getting that playing time that's going to be needed for their development. So that could be something we see. We could see more of those loans be utilized, kind of similar to what we saw in the early stages of USL League One, where teams had an MLS affiliation. Ford Madison had theirs with Minnesota United and eventually Chicago Fire. Lansing Ignite, when they were there, had one with the Chicago Fire. Richmond kind of had one with DC United. And then you kind of look over at Tucson when they were around. They were partnered with Phoenix Rising, who were up in the championship. So I think we could see more of that. And I think that's going to be the area that I think is going to make the most sense of how that could impact USL League One in the larger scale, is getting more of these players that were developed in these academies and need that playing time. They can go down to the USL League One, kind of similar to how MLS is doing it with their 2 teams, where you just have a league of 2 team players that are competing. So I think that's going to be the biggest one. In terms of what this means for, like I said, a USL League 2, I don't know. And I think that's going to be interesting. If the Pro Rel gets implemented, does USL League 2 get into it? Do we see more of these League 2 teams move up? Maybe. I don't think so, just because a large contingent of the player pool is still going to be college students. And once you start getting them in the professional settings, that puts them at risk of playing in college. Maybe there's loopholes with NIL. That's a whole different discussion, I'm sure. But overall, I think for USL League One, I don't think this is going to be that big of an impact for them. We might see more players coming down on loans and getting that playing time. We might see a couple markets try and start in League One before they make that move up. And if we have Pro Rel, then obviously we'll get, the likes of Hartford's and whoever else that comes out for the championship. So that's all we have for today. I appreciate you listening. Make sure to check us out, and we will talk to you later.